Hey guys, thanks for taking time to watch this today. A few things before I get started about our fast video. If you haven't done so already, mark your calendars for September 4th at the Ales Abode. Dinner around 5 o'clock, and so this will be just for plant team. If you're not able to make it, let us know, but we look forward to seeing you guys and getting everybody together. It'll be nice. It's been since beginning of July since we've all been together, so it'd be good to have everybody in the same room. And then you can expect two things from me in the next week that are somewhat important. So Ide and I are working on getting a calendar out for the first few months, just so everybody knows what, when, where. And then I will have an email out to you guys soon about tithes and offerings, and how I appreciate you guys all sending that information to Dan and Lisa. And I'll send some information out on how to then begin to tithe to neighborhoods starting in September. We're going to do some online giving. We're also going to set up a P.O. box and do a few different things for everybody. So look forward to that email in the next week or so. But let's talk about this fast a little bit. Today I want to really focus on fasting being a part of spiritual warfare. For those of you guys who weren't at our gathering on July 4th, let me just summarize what happened and give you guys a glimpse of what that looks like in the supernatural. So we were gathering as a team, and I just got done kind of casting some vision about the plant, answering a handful of questions, and I was actually just about to announce this idea of a rolling fast, and Kathy was really sharing her heart to pray. And I was just about to share with this fast, and a gentleman that I know from the neighborhood showed up at my window. He had never done that before, and never has since. But he looked in the window. I didn't even see it happening, but he made eye contact with Dan Ebert. Had never met Dan Ebert before, and Dan had never met him. He looked in the window, walked right up to the window as we were talking. Looked in the window, made eye contact with Dan, and said, "Daniel, come to the door." Dan had never met him before. He had never met Dan before. Dan, kind of somewhat shocked, looked at me, and about that time he was walking up to the steps. I walk up to meet him at the door, and immediately in my spirit, I just know that there's demonic influence in him. I politely but authoritatively told him to leave, and he did so. But somebody with a different worldview could brush that off. But what we discerned to be true was that there was an assignment of the enemy to either intimidate or distract. But we know that the enemy knows who we are, and it was very evident to Dan that there is no other way that this man would have known him, but by the enemy. And so it's been very apparent that God has gone before us, and we have significant favor here in Marion, and we know that the enemy's here. And so let me read a passage to you guys that really most of us will know, but I want to just really reinforce just the supernatural. It says, Ephesians 6, "Finally be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God, that so you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not with flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of the dark world, and against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand." God is writing a story of renewal in this city, through our church, and every step of the way, what we know to be true is that the enemy and his minions are trying to counteract everything that the Lord is doing here. This is true in our lives individually, in our marriages, in our kids, in our neighbors, all over the city. It looks anything from like little temptations to massive drug addictions and generational poverty. That the enemy is trying to counteract everything that God is doing to draw people to Himself, and therefore he is actively opposing what we are trying to do in this city. And so, if you guys would just be as you pray this week, we see in the Old Testament and in the New Testament that fasting and prayer. Jesus, when the disciples struggle to cast out a demon, he says, "Oh, this one only comes out with fasting and prayer." And then there's a time in Daniel that through praying and fasting, God actually just dispatches an angel, and this angel actually has a confrontation with the demonic in all of this. And so, this is often a mystery. We don't know exactly the exchange that happens as we fast and pray in the supernatural, but it's clear in the scriptures that fasting and prayer is an act of spiritual warfare, and it's a way that we partner with God in this. And so, as you're praying this week specifically, just think about, meditate upon this it's an act of spiritual warfare. For those of you who are newer to spiritual warfare, a few just pastoral advice. As we engage in this, we often experience it more. And so, if you're newer to this, if you face a significant level of temptation, if you have any highs or lows in emotional responses, if you have any interactions that might cause a significant level of fear, whether it be a dream or a hostile encounter with somebody, if you feel a significant weight of whether it be depression or shame or either condemnation, it's likely that there's some spiritual warfare happening. And so we would love for you to let us know that, and we can pray for you specifically. And so this week, we are already engaged in spiritual warfare. So this week, let's just become aware of what we're already engaged in. And so if you guys have any questions or impacts or impressions from the Lord, feel free to share that out via video. And so September 4th, mark your schedules, 5 o'clock at the Ailes household. And then look this week for information on tithes and offerings and a calendar. And we'll get that out to you guys soon. Thanks, guys. Can't wait to be together on September 4th. And if you haven't already, mark your calendars for September 10th, the 11:15 service, our send-off. Thanks, guys. See ya.